Hi friends, welcome to another Sunnyside Design video. I am Michelle.
I'm Steph.
And we are here in my laundry room. And this is the one room in our house that has not been touched. And we'll take you on a little tour in a second and you can see how
boring
it is. I mean, white wall with a pink tint, white floor, white cabinets, white appliances. And it could use some loving, right?
It's just all dated, really, too.
It is. It looks like, even though the home was built in the 90s, it looks like maybe it's the 70s, maybe? Not maybe, 80s. Not 70s, 80s. More 80s. Okay. This wall is what we're going to transform today. So you're going to see this turn in to a beautiful feature wall in my laundry room. All right, today is the day, and we are going to transform this wall in the laundry room into a functioning mudroom. We have no mudroom in this house. This is one long blank wall. So we're going to first install some beadboard, install some extra wood with it, and hooks and make storage for this room. And it's going to totally, and there's going to be a special feature that's coming along this wall as well that I'm so excited to share with you.
Awesome.
Yep. Before we get started installing the beadboard, we need to do a little prep work. First thing we did was mark the height that we wanted the beadboard to be, and we used a level and made a level line across the entire wall where we will line up that beadboard. The next thing we did was to mark where the studs were in the wall. We used a stud finder to locate the studs and put a little pencil mark so we would know where to place the brads or the nails through the beadboard. Before we can start installing the beadboard, we needed to make one cut for an outlet that was on this wall. And so what we did is first measured the distance from the wall over to the outlet, and from the top of where the beadboard was going to be installed to the top of the outlet. Then we were able to transcribe that onto the back of the beadboard piece. We've marked the back side of our beadboard for the outlet here, and now we're just going to use this oscillating tool to cut through, and so that our electrical outlet will be able to come through the beadboard. I had a little anxiety about figuring out how to cut this part out, but there was no need for that. It was actually a lot easier than I thought. Once we had it marked, we just used the oscillating tool with a wood cutting blade, and it just punched right through the beadboard very easily. And so in no time at all, we had our cutout for our outlet. So for this beadboard, we do need to also attach it to the wall with some construction adhesive. We will be using brads. Oh, I don't want to make a mess. We're going to use brads at the studs, but we'll have areas along these edges especially that we'll want to make sure that it's adhered well with the construction adhesive. So I'm going to go around the edges first. Might be easier if it was laying down. We're working in a narrow spot. This laundry room is not very wide, so.
Want me to try?
Oh man. We just had a little change of hands here. Steph's got stronger hands than me. I've got arthritis that has really flared up in my left hand, and so we are gonna let her do the squeezing today. It's just too much for me to handle. So we're getting a nice bead of the construction adhesive all the way around the entire beadboard piece.
Get it around the outlet hole.
Once the perimeter of the beadboard had the construction adhesive on it, we did go through and just put some lines of more adhesive over the entire surface. We are now ready to install our first piece of the beadboard. We have lined it up with the pencil line, our level line across the top. We've made sure that it fits over our outlet, and then we are just going to secure it where we've marked our studs in the wall. And we first secured the top and then we just came down each stud and put 4 or 5 brads in where each stud is located. A little tip when you're placing those brads in is it's easier to fill in the nail holes if you place your brads on that larger flat surface. If you put it in the groove of the beadboard, you'll have a really hard time covering it and getting it smooth where you put those brads. Adding beautiful architectural interest to your home not only adds value, but it also makes your home yours. Clearly, there's many ways that you can add details to your home that create character. I've always been drawn to styles and looks that create a sense of history that makes it feel like it's been around for decades. Personally, I believe that adding traditional beadboard paneling not only adds a cottage charm to any room, but it also creates that sense of history. We have updated every space in our home except the laundry room. So this year is the year that it is getting its transformation. My first thought on this wall was to create a board and batten wall, but I felt like that really wasn't the style of my home. So as I thought about it a bit more, I thought a traditional beadboard paneling would be the perfect fit. Adding this paneling wall is really not difficult at all. In fact, Steph and I were able to complete all the installation in an afternoon, and that includes filling in all those nail holes and caulking it as well. Let me share a tip that we did to make our installation easier. We decided the height of that beadboard panel, and when we picked up our panels at Home Depot, we had them cut to the height we needed. Then we didn't have to spend time cutting them, and handling a big 4x8 sheet on the table saw can be a little bit challenging, so this made our job a lot easier. With our beadboard panel only covering a portion of the wall, the top edge will need some sort of an edge to make it look finished. Because I will be adding hooks for jackets and coats and making this more of a mudroom wall feature, I wanted to use a substantial piece of wood. And so I used a 1x6 primed pine board for this, and we attached it through the beadboard. We aligned it with the top of the beadboard and we attached it at the studs. So this is the top board is where we're going to be hanging the coat racks, hooks for the coat rack. But on this, we needed 2 boards to hit the length of the room. So we've actually angle cut the boards so that they will have a nice joint. This works a little nicer to get a better joint if you cut them both at a 45-degree angle and overlap them. So when we brought in this second board, it overlaps that first board at the 45-degree angle. They're cut the opposite direction so that they overlap perfectly. And then we went ahead and nailed them the rest of the way on the studs. And then on that area, we did fill it in with some Bondo putty. I actually prefer that when you've got a large area you need to fill in. It just sands really beautiful and you get a beautiful finish in the end. Next up is our cap piece or our top piece. It is a 1.5 inch wide board. It's a 1/2 inch thick, and we're just going to nail that in to our top 1x6 board across the top. Once again, we will need 2 boards to complete the length of the room here. And this is just going to finish it off and give it a really nice traditional look. Finally, we're ready to install the baseboard. Once again, we're just going to use the brad nailer and nail it at the studs. We are raising the baseboard up 3/4 of an inch because we do not have our flooring, our new tile flooring in yet. And that will allow for the thickness of the tile, the mastic, and the backer board. So we can slide that underneath the baseboard and get a nice finished look in the end. So where each of the beadboard pieces came together, there's just a slight gap because these are not tongue and groove, they just butt up. So what we'll do is, besides putting spackle on the nail, little brad holes, we're going to caulk right down that seam. So Steph is our professional caulker at our home, and so I always let her do this. She does a great job. So first she runs a thin bead of caulk all the way down the seam, and then she'll use her finger to push it in to the seam. And then once she's got that pushed into the seam, she'll come by with a damp rag or cloth and wipe off the remaining caulk that's left over. And it always turns out just beautifully. She does a great job. It must be because she's a perfectionist when it comes to things like this. We're now nearing the home stretch, and definitely caulking and adding the putty makes everything look finished and neat. A bead of caulk is also run along the top of the header and on the top of the baseboard. I like to use the Drydex nail filler to fill in all of the brad holes, and so I'll use a putty knife to fill those in, and once it's dry, I take a sanding sponge and sand over until it's nice and smooth. Purchasing primed boards will save you time. The only thing that we had to worry about priming was the baseboard. Now, because of the groove in the beadboard, I decided to use our Wagner paint sprayer for this job. I did one coat horizontally and one coat vertically using the detail nozzle. Now, I love this detail nozzle and I get a beautiful smooth finish with it on furniture, but I have found that it does not work as well on large areas like a wall. Once the paint had dried, the beadboard panel looked blotchy. And so to create that smooth finish that I wanted, I ended up using a small foam roller and rolling it and putting a third coat to get the finish that I wanted. All right, I am so excited with the way this turned out. This makes my whole, I mean, we've only done one wall of my laundry room. If we were to flip it around, you'd see the other half of the room still looks the same. But so far what we've done in here has totally dramatically changed the way it feels in here. And the only thing I still need to do is put some hooks on here for my little mudroom feature there. Yep. So I'm so excited with the way it turned out. And it is a doable project. Steph and I did the beadboard, the molding, all of that.
We did everything
in an afternoon. So it's doable, and we did it ourselves. We had no help from the men, not at all.
It was cost effective, quick to do, and it makes a huge statement. It just really updates the space and gives some character too. It's really cute. So we hope you liked this video, and you probably noticed this fun wall treatment above us. Make sure to watch that video. It will air after the
the beadboard.
Yeah, I keep wanting to say board and batten because that's my house. After the beadboard airs, we are going to show you what this is and how we did that. And we also just did that in a little over an hour.
Yeah, a little more than an hour.
So we hope you like this. Stay tuned for more videos. Make sure to subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. Tap that notification bell so you know when our new videos are released. And as always here at Sunnyside Design, we hope to bring your home to the sunny side of the street.